Have you ever wondered why the moments of silence in your life feel louder than the noise? Why the battles you fight alone echo longer than the applause? Life is not random, it is orchestral. Every struggle, every unanswered prayer, every delay is a note in a symphony composed beyond your understanding. There exists a subtle architecture, psychological, invisible, built not just to distract you, but to domesticate your spirit, to tame the wildness of your potential. The world teaches you to be small, compliant, and numb, not because you are meant to be, but because your awakening would disrupt the illusion. But even in your confusion, you are not lost. You are being positioned, carved by pressure, silence, and time. What if your pain was a form of preparation? What if your resistance was a form of remembrance? The trap is real, but so is your divine design. You were never broken, only being tuned to play your part in the music of the cosmos. You wake up every day thinking you're making choices. You choose your coffee, your clothes, the job you show up to, the people you hang out with. You scroll through endless options on your phone, news, entertainment, opinions, and you think, I'm free, I decide. But the truth is, you're not deciding. You're selecting from a shelf that someone else stocked for you long before you knew you had a mind of your own. You see, the most dangerous prison is the one you don't know you're in. The walls are invisible, the guards wear smiles, and the bars are built from comfort and distraction. You were born into a system that handed you a script the moment you opened your eyes. Go to school, get good grades, be agreeable, don't ask too many questions, follow the rules. They call it structure. They call it opportunity, but it's domestication. And they dress it up so beautifully that most never think to tear it open and look beneath. They've made you believe you're free because you have options, but options are not freedom. If I offer you 10 different brands of the same poison, you're not free because you've got to pick your flavor. You're still poisoned. That's what most people are doing, choosing different shades of the same lie and calling it freedom. Real freedom? That starts the moment you question the entire shelf. Who built it? Why are these the only options? And what would my life look like if I walked out of this store entirely? But most won't. Not because they're weak, but because they've been conditioned to fear that kind of power. From birth, the system doesn't just give you limits. It teaches you to love them. It rewards obedience. It gives you gold stars for following rules you never wrote. They want you to feel good in your cage because a man who likes his chains will never try to break them. You've got dreams, right? Big ones. But look at how you've been taught to dream. Flashy cars, status, approval. Even your vision of success was handed to you. And that's how they keep you chasing shadows instead of becoming fire. Because if you ever stopped chasing and started creating, really creating, on your own terms with your own mind, you'd be dangerous. You'd be free. And the world doesn't like free men. It fears them. The hardest truth is this: the trap doesn't hold you with force. It holds you with story. The story they gave you about who you are, what you can do, and how far you're allowed to go. They don't need to chain your hands when they've already chained your imagination. But here's the good news. The moment you realize this, the game changes. Awareness is the first rebellion. The system banks on you never waking up. It's terrified of you asking why you believe what you believe, why you want what you want, why you live the way you do. Because the moment you ask that question with honesty, the illusion starts to crack. And when it cracks even just a little, light gets in. The world is not scared of your failure. It's scared of your awakening. It's scared of the day you stop playing by its rules and start writing your own. That's when you stop being a player in their game and start becoming the architect of your own. You were never meant to blend in with a system designed to keep you invisible. You were meant to break it and be seen. Let's talk about comfort. Not the kind that comes after a long day or the peace you feel when you're with someone you love. I'm talking about the kind of comfort that's sold to you, packaged, marketed, engineered. The comfort that slowly puts you to sleep while the world around you burns and transforms. That kind of comfort isn't peace. It's paralysis. They've convinced you that the goal is to be comfortable. a stable job, predictable days, a routine you don't question. And when you finally get it, what happens? You stop growing, you stop risking, you stop becoming, and you don't even notice. That's how smooth it is. That's how clever the trap was built. Never mentally weak. The system doesn't need to beat you down with violence anymore. It just needs to feed you enough convenience that you'll choose stillness over struggle, numbing over awareness. They give you fast food, mindless shows, digital escapes, all while your body weakens, your mind dulls, and your purpose evaporates into routine. Comfort is the slow death no one talks about. It doesn't scream. It tells you you've done enough. You don't need to try harder. You're fine just the way you are. And that's exactly what they want, because when you're fine, you're not dangerous. You're predictable, controllable, a cog in the machine. But here's the truth. Nothing worth having is found inside your comfort zone. Every breakthrough, every moment of clarity, every shift in power comes from discomfort, from pain, from pushing past the point where most people quit. That pressure you feel when you're uncertain, when your hands are shaking, when you're tired but still moving, that's not a sign you're failing. That's a sign you're alive. That's evolution in motion. And don't be fooled by how they frame suffering. They've trained you to see discomfort as failure, when in reality, discomfort is sacred. It's the forge where real men are made, where vision sharpens, where you meet the parts of yourself you didn't know existed. But the system has no use for awakened, sharpened souls. It needs obedient bodies. And comfort is the perfect leash. They'll tell you, take it easy, you deserve it. But let me ask you, deserve what exactly? A life of numbing repetition? A half-lived purpose? You don't get to feel fulfilled by default. You earn that through struggle, sacrifice, and waking up every day with discipline that laughs in the face of ease. Most people will never understand this, and they won't want to, because it's easier to stay comfortable than to confront the truth that you've been sedated your whole life, that the very things that feel safest are what's keeping you small. You want to know why you feel stuck? It's not because the world is unfair. It's because you've made comfort your God, and it's given you nothing but chains in return. The worst part, it doesn't just affect you. Comfort kills legacy. It robs your children of a stronger example. It robs your community of a leader. It robs the world of what you could have been if you had the courage to be uncomfortable long enough to grow. You have to decide what matters more, temporary ease or eternal impact. Because you won't get both. Growth and comfort do not coexist, never have. So if you're tired of being broke, mentally, spiritually, financially, look at where you've settled. Look at where you've chosen comfort over calling. And understand this, the longer you stay comfortable, the further you drift from the man you were born to become. The world will offer you a pillow, but if you're here to rise, to conquer, to change the game, you better learn to sleep on stone. Comfort is the cage, and the moment you stop needing it, you become unstoppable. Let's get into something deeper now. Something most people never stop to question. Self-doubt. That quiet voice that whispers, you're not good enough. The hesitation before you speak. The fear before you act. The sinking feeling that maybe, just maybe, you're not meant to rise. Most people think that voice is their own. But it's not. That voice was planted, taught, engineered. You weren't born doubting yourself. Touch a child. They don't hesitate. They don't question their right to speak, to run, to dream out loud. They believe they can fly until the world tells them they can't. That's the truth of it. Doubt isn't natural. It's inherited. You absorbed it from broken systems, from wounded people, from a society that benefits from you staying in your place. Because if you ever truly believed in yourself, if you ever remembered who you were before the world got its hands on you, you'd be unstoppable. And that's the threat. That's why the world teaches you to shrink. Not because it hates you, but because your full potential would flip the table. They need you to play small so the illusion stays intact. Think about it. You get told to be realistic before you even understand what real is. You get measured, labeled, graded, put in boxes by people who never saw your vision. And every time you tried to step out, speak up, dream big, someone rolled their eyes, laughed, told you to calm down. That wasn't feedback. That was fear. Their fear projected onto you. And over time, you started believing it. You started thinking maybe they were right. Maybe you are too much. Maybe you don't have what it takes. So you internalized it. And that voice in your head, the one that says, don't bother, you'll fail, stay safe, that's not your voice. That's the echo of their fear wearing your face. But here's the catch. That voice doesn't go away by ignoring it. It goes away by confronting it, by calling it out. Every time you act in defiance of that doubt, you weaken its grip. Every time you do the thing you're afraid of, you prove that voice wrong. And piece by piece, you reclaim your mind. You've got to understand, doubt is not just insecurity. It's a weapon, a psychological tool used to keep you questioning yourself so you never question the system. It keeps you chasing validation instead of vision. It keeps you stuck in your head instead of moving with your spirit. And when you're in that loop, they don't need to control you. You'll sabotage yourself. That's the real danger, not failure. But hesitation, indecision, death by delay. How many moments have passed you by, not because you weren't ready, but because you didn't believe you were worthy? And the tragedy is, the world never got to see what you could have been, all because you were too busy doubting a version of yourself that never existed in the first place. You are not weak, you've just been lied to. And that lie has echoed in your mind for so long, it started to sound like truth. But here's what's real. Every time you stand tall when your legs want to give out, every time you speak when your voice shakes, every time you take a step with trembling hands, you're not failing, you're remembering, you're waking up. The world is built to keep you asleep, to keep you tame, to keep you doubting. But if you can see the doubt for what it is, a strategy, not a reflection, you can rise above it, you can tear it down. And when you do, something powerful happens. Your vision becomes louder than your fear. You don't have to silence the voice of doubt. You just have to stop obeying it. And the moment you do, you stop being controlled and start becoming who you were always meant to be. Let's talk about something people overlook every single day: silence. Not the silence of absence, the silence of awareness. The kind you feel when the noise fades and you're left with nothing but your own thoughts staring back at you. That silence, it's powerful. And that's exactly why they've made it so hard to find. The modern world is terrified of silence. That's why you're constantly bombarded with notifications, breaking news, endless content, opinions flying from every angle. And the second you wake up to the moment your head hits the pillow, the system keeps you distracted. Not because they want to entertain you, but because they know that in the quiet, you might actually start thinking. And if you start thinking, you start remembering who you are, what you want, what matters. Silence is where clarity is born. But clarity is dangerous in a world that runs on confusion. So they feed you noise, constant, curated, weaponized noise, not to inform, but to drown out the one voice they can't control, yours. They don't want you still, because stillness is where the lies start falling apart. That's when the mask slips. That's when you realize that the life you're living might not even be yours. You've just been following the rhythm of a song you didn't write, working a job you don't love, chasing goals that don't fulfill you, keeping up appearances for people who don't care. All of it. Because the noise never gave you time to stop and ask why. That's why they keep you running. They want you tired, distracted, entertained, but never enlightened. You think it's just marketing, just culture, just staying informed. It's not. It's a system, a psychological shell game. Keep your mind busy enough and you'll never find what's beneath it. Keep your ears full and your soul stays starved. But the truth is, silence is sacred. It's not empty. It's full of answers. You ever wonder why your best ideas come in the shower, on a long walk, or when you're alone at night staring at the ceiling? It's because the noise drops for just a second. And in that second, the truth rushes in. That's why ancient warriors meditated, why prophets went into the wilderness, why great thinkers escaped into solitude, not because they were hiding from the world, but because they were trying to hear it properly. The world doesn't make sense in the noise. It only makes sense in the silence. That's where alignment happens. That's where your instincts come alive. That's where you hear the voice that says, you were made for more. But most people never hear that voice, not because it isn't speaking, but because they never turn the volume down long enough to listen. The trap isn't just external, it's internal. The noise isn't just on your phone, it's in your head. The doubts, the comparisons, the false urgency, the system planted them there. Every scroll, every headline, every curated post telling you what success should look like. It's all designed to disconnect you from your own inner guidance. You don't need more opinions. You need more silence. You need space to think your own thoughts, feel your own instincts, build your own path. Because if you don't, the world will gladly hand you a life built on everyone else's expectations. And the scariest part, you'll accept it, not because it's right, but because it's loud. But here's the shift. The moment you stop running from silence and start seeking it, everything changes. Your thoughts get sharper, your moves get cleaner, your vision gets clearer, and the noise, it starts to sound like exactly what it is. Desperation. A desperate system trying to keep you asleep. So if you want to win, if you want to really rise, you need to master the stillness. Silence isn't weakness, it's a weapon. And when you learn to sit quietly with yourself, you become someone the world can no longer manipulate. Let's get into the myth of fairness. This one's a favorite, especially for people who are stuck, broke, or bitter. They've been taught that life should be fair, that there's some invisible referee making sure everything evens out, that good things happen to good people, that hard work always gets rewarded, and that if you're struggling, it's because you did something wrong or someone cheated. But life doesn't play by those rules. Life isn't fair. It never was, and it never will be. That's not negative. It's reality. And once you understand it, once you accept it, you stop waiting to be rescued. You stop hoping for justice from a system that was never built to serve you in the first place. You stop expecting the world to hand you what you want just because you worked hard or deserve it. It's not how it works. The world doesn't respond to effort. It responds to power. Now hear me. This doesn't mean hard work is useless. It means hard work without leverage is slavery. You can grind 18 hours a day in the wrong system and still end up broke, overlooked, and exhausted. Because the game isn't just about playing hard. It's about knowing the rules. And the people who are winning, they're not playing harder than you. They're playing smarter. They understand where the leverage is. They've studied the board while everyone else was too busy just moving pieces. And here's where it gets deep. They want you to believe in fairness because it keeps you compliant. If you think everything's fair, you'll keep playing by the rules, even when those rules are designed to keep you small. You won't question the system. You won't look for the back door. You'll just keep grinding, hoping that one day the universe balances the scales. That hope becomes your leash. The truth is, the universe isn't sitting around calculating what you're owed. It responds to action, to strategy, to will. You want something, take it. Don't wait. Don't ask. Don't pray for equal opportunity in a world that was built on advantage and hierarchy. Create your own opportunity. Make yourself undeniable. Make your presence so heavy that the system can't ignore you even if it wants to. And understand this. When you accept that life isn't fair, you stop being shocked by setbacks. You stop crumbling when things go wrong. You stop crying out, why me? And start thinking, what now? That shift right there is everything. It moves you from victim to warrior, from pawn to player. You look at history, at anyone who ever changed the world, and none of them sat around waiting for fairness. They dared. They broke rules. They bent systems. They used the unfairness to their advantage. That's how you rise, not by begging for equity, but by mastering the chaos. And yeah, that might sound harsh to some of you, but it's only harsh if you're still looking for permission to win. You don't need permission. You need clarity. Clarity that the world is ruthless, And that's not something to cry about. That's something to prepare for. That's something to use. Because once you stop expecting life to be fair, you stop being emotional about your losses. You get surgical, tactical. You take what you learned, you recalibrate, and you strike again, over and over until the door opens. Or you build your own. Fairness is a bedtime story. Power is the truth. And the truth doesn't care about your feelings. It cares about your choices. It can sit around waiting for the world to change. Or you can become so strong, so skilled, so certain that you change yourself and force the world to respond. Let's end with the deepest layer of the trot, the illusion of identity. This one's clever. It's not about what you do, it's about who you think you are. Because if they can control your self-position, they never have to chain your body. Your mind becomes the prison, and you lock the doors yourself. See, most people walk around thinking they know who they are, but they don't. They know who they were told to be. And the moment you were born, they started crafting a version of you that would fit into the system. And little by little, you agreed. You accepted labels, you accepted limits, you accepted a story that was never yours. They told you this is what people like you do. This is how far people like you go. And you believed it. You adopted that false identity like a second skin, and then you started building your life around it, your habits, your goals, your relationships, all based on a script you never even wrote. That's the trick. You think you're living life on your terms, but you're not. You're playing a role, a safe, predictable, approved version of yourself that doesn't shake the system too much because the real you, the unfiltered you, is a threat. But here's the truth. Identity is not fixed. It's fluid. It's earned. It's chosen. You're not a tree. You can move. You're not stone. You can evolve. Yet most people treat identity like it's a life sentence. They say things like, I've always been this way. I'm just not that kind of person. I could never do that. And they say it like it's truth. It's not truth. It's programming. You were told who you were before you had the power to decide. And now you're stuck in a version of yourself that's too small for your spirit. You're living a life that fits your past, but suffocates your future. And you're calling it who I am. But real identity, the kind that frees you, isn't something you find. It's something you create. You choose it. You build it. You decide every single day who you're going to be, regardless of who you've been. That's the difference between people who rise and people who repeat. One chooses, the other obeys. And of course, the system hates that. It hates when you wake up one day and say, this isn't me anymore. It hates when you break character, when you rewrite the story, when you start walking like you've remembered the power you were born with. That scares them because it means they're not in control anymore. You are. And yes, it's uncomfortable. Reinventing yourself means letting go of things. Friends who knew the old you, habits that kept you safe, beliefs that made you feel accepted. But comfort is not the goal. Evolution is. You don't grow by clinging to who you were. You grow by burning the old script and daring to become someone the world hasn't met yet. Every time you act out of alignment with your past, you're carving a new identity. Every rep in the gym when your mind says quit. Every early morning when your body begs for sleep. Every risk. Every bold move, every time you show up as the future you instead of the former you, that's how you shatter the trot. That's how you rise. You weren't born weak. You weren't born poor. You weren't born afraid. You were born free. And everything that made you forget that was the trap. But now you see it. Now you know. And once you know, the trap loses its power. Because no system, no lie, no label is stronger than a man who decides to become himself. You don't find freedom. You become it.